everybody, and welcome back to Out of Body. My name is Sabrina, and today I'm going to be talking about something a little bit different on my channel that I thought would be interesting, and that is pre-birth memories. Now, pre-birth memories are different than past life memories. So some of you have probably heard of past lives, how a lot of us have lived multiple lives here on Earth, or even multiple lives elsewhere. Now, pre-birth memories are a little bit different because it's memories of being on the other side before we came into the current life that we're in. So it's not remembering past lives here on Earth, it's remembering being on the other side before coming to be born. So I feel like this topic isn't talked about very much, and I actually have a pre-birth memory, and I always kind of forget about it until I'm reminded somehow, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've got that. So at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you my pre-birth memory, but for the first part here, I'm going to be going through some true stories about children who actually recalled their pre-birth memories. A lot of times really young kids can remember being on the other side before they were born. They can remember picking out their parents, or remember their parents meeting for the first time, or just remember kind of picking out certain things about their life and who they wanted to be before they'd come to Earth. And sometimes those children can carry those memories through into adulthood like I did. Many times, kind of more often, they tend to not remember later on in life. It just kind of goes away. But if you're interested in reading more about this topic, I would definitely recommend this book that I've read. It's called Memories of Heaven, and it's by Wayne Dyer and Dee Garnes. Anyway, my brother had given me this a couple years ago, I guess, and I read it and I thought it was really fascinating, and he actually didn't know that I had a pre-birth memory at that point. And then I told him, I was like, I've actually got one of these. So anyway, I'm going to read a few true accounts from this book because it's just kind of short stories in here. And then, like I said, at the end, I'm going to tell you about my own, and I would love to hear about any of you if you have a memory like this, or if you know someone who does, or if your own child has said anything along the lines of remembering something before they came here. So definitely comment down below if you've heard of anything like that, or if you've had any of your own experiences. I'd love to hear about it. And let's just get right into this. So this first one here is really short, but it had me shook when I first read it. It says, my youngest saw a swastika and told me that she had it on her sleeve, which was a bad thing. She was a man in a bad war and had died, and she had a little girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. She said she came here to make up for what she'd done before. She also used to hear voices, and it seemed to upset her when she found out that none of us heard them. So we prayed that they would go away until she was older and could understand better. Wow. So in her case, it was a little bit more of a past life memory, but also kind of a pre-birth memory, because she was remembering the reason why she reincarnated again was to make up for what she'd done before. So she remembered kind of making that decision when she was on the other side. And that kind of brings up another point that I was going to do for another video, is do our souls have a gender? Because clearly from what this little girl said, she was a man in a past life, but now she's a little girl. So it kind of brings up the whole gender thing. You know, to me personally, souls don't have a gender, and I have research as to why I know that. But so this would kind of help confirm that, because she was a man before in the last life, and in this life chose to be a girl and to do some good things and make up for what she'd done before. So that's really interesting. And this one's another really short one, but it's, I think, significant, a child talking about how they were when they were just in spirit form. This little girl says, I was free and used to fly. Why can't I fly here on Earth? It was like clouds up in the sky, everything and anything, everywhere and anywhere. So it's like she's remembering being just in spirit form, flying around everywhere, which is really cool. All right, and this next one kind of hits home for me because I get frustrated sometimes when my baby doesn't sleep. But this mom says, one night I was sitting on my couch rocking my colicky infant son, PJ, with my 3-year-old daughter, Angelica, next to me. I was getting a little frustrated with PJ because he never slept. My daughter said, Mom, you need to be patient with us because we picked you in heaven. She went on to explain that she sat up in heaven and decided with God whom she should pick as a mom and dad. She waited until she could pick the perfect ones. When she saw her dad and me, she told God that she was ready to go. Angelica said that her brother had done the same thing, so I needed to be patient with him. Whew. That's crazy to think about. As a mom now, I knew that because I read this before I ever was pregnant. So I knew, I was like, well, our baby picked us, as parents. So it's crazy to think about, but it's true. You really do select your own parents, at least I would assume in most cases, because there's a whole lot of stories about children talking about remembering that. All right, now this next one is pretty crazy. It says, one night at dinner, our younger foster adopted son, and it says he was around 4 years old, started talking at great length about his life in the stars and how he had all these brothers and sisters who lived there. He said he'd seen my husband and me from there and tried to get our attention many times, but we never could see him. So he decided to be born through his mom so we could find him. So he's not even their birth child, but he still, ended up picking them, which is really interesting to me. It says, my husband and I were floored to say the least. I'd had a few miscarriages after my first son, so once my younger son told us what he'd seen, I knew his soul had been trying to come in through me, even though my body was not able to do it. We feel our older son always knew the plan because he was the one constantly begging us for a sibling. Once his brother came to live with us, placed with us at 22 months old, he was so happy to have him here, even though it wasn't easy in the beginning. They are now the best of friends. This next one's a little bit longer, but it's pretty crazy. Says, my son Christian died in 1996 when he was 14 months old from an undiagnosed rare cancer. After he died, I had a miscarriage. I prayed to my son to send us a child that would be perfect for our family. I got pregnant again in 1997, and the doctor told me that I had a false pregnancy, all the symptoms and no heartbeat. She assured me that I would not need to go through the same painful dilation and curettage, which I've had that before, not fun, that I had to do with the last miscarriage. I would return to the office in a few weeks for an injection that would eliminate the need for a D&C. I had a very strong feeling not to do this. I called the nurse practitioner that I know, and she said that some pregnancies can be too early to detect a heartbeat and that repeating this sonogram in a few weeks wouldn't hurt. My husband and I prayed and accepted that what we felt as God's will. The injection was scheduled for the same day as the sonogram, and when we walked into the room, the technician made sure to turn the monitor away from us. When we were told to see the radiologist in the next room, I asked my husband to wait in the car, but the technician insisted that he come with me. The radiologist put a film on the board and with his finger outlined a baby. He had also detected the heartbeat. We sat there and cried, knowing that was the day we were supposed to have the injection. Had I not listened to the voice inside me, my beautiful daughter would not be here. I had a picture in my living room of my husband holding Christian on the only Christmas we'd had with him. One day, my then 3-year-old daughter pointed to his picture and said, I know him. I told her that he died before she was born, so she'd never met him. She replied, I know him from before I was born. I just cried. She's such a miracle to us, and even at age 16 is so special and clearly tuned into that voice inside her. So that's really interesting, that somehow her daughter remembered, maybe knew him on the other side before she came to be born with that mom. It's really crazy. This one's really cute. It says, when my son was about 4 years old, we took him shopping to a Walmart that we had never been to before. An elderly black man greeted us at the door with a smile saying, hello, welcome to Walmart. My son got so excited, he threw up his hand and waved and replied exuberantly, hey, how are you? He said it as if he were greeting an old friend that he hadn't seen in years. He was usually very shy of strangers, so this caught me off guard. Then, without missing a beat, he looked at me enthusiastically and said, he was my friend. I knew him when I was in heaven with God. I was totally speechless, as was the elderly man. Okay, and this one is good because it's actually an adult recounting their pre-birth memory, so they still remember as an adult. It says, as a small child, I had a clear memory of watching my parents before birth. I was looking down at them from above as they sat in a park. Years later, my mom and I were talking, and she mentioned their favorite spot in a park which they had gone to as a young married couple. I asked her to take me there, and it was the exact spot from my memories. So that's really crazy. So not only does she have this memory still, even into adulthood, but she was able to verify it later by going to the park and realizing it's the same place. That one, I'm gonna just end with that one. So I would definitely recommend reading that book if you're interested. Oop, I got gnats in here. If you're interested in that topic, I would definitely recommend reading that book. I'll put a link down below too if you want to buy it on Amazon or Kindle or something like that. So now I'm gonna go into really quickly my pre-birth memory. It's a little bit different than those. Mine, I actually have had this memory ever since I can remember. The first time I remember remembering it or remember recalling it, if that makes sense, I believe I was about 3 years old. And I was in my room and I remember remembering it and thinking about it, thinking, wait a minute, where was that? I was thinking, when did that happen? And I was like, it wasn't here. That place that I was in wasn't this place, you know, and I remember being confused for a second. And then, you know, like kids are, I just a squirrel, you know, I just thought of something else and then didn't think about it for a while after that. But anyway, so what my memory is, I was in, kind of cliche, I guess, but it was this like paradise place. Very, very green everywhere. It was kind of like the woods, you know, just everything was very colorful. There were trees. I was actually laying up on a branch in a tree. That's how the memory begins. I'm actually just laying on my back, just looking up at the sky, and there's these trees all around me, and I'm really high up. I'm like really high up in the tree. I'm not just laying on like the lower branch. I'm laying like on one of the top branches in the tree, and at some point later I look down and it looks like I'm like 40 feet up in the air. So I'm really high up in this tree just laying there. I'm not scared, which I'm actually scared of heights and always have been. So that's another reason why I know that it's not like, obviously nothing that happened here, and not really a dream either, because even in my dreams I'm afraid of heights. So I'm laying on that branch and I can see all these colors. Like these trees were like trees of a forest, but they had like all these flowers on them. So it's like nothing that I've ever seen here. They had like these huge, like really bright, like red and blue even, and like purple, I don't know, just all these like beautiful flowers in a tree. Anyway, I just remember laying there and just feeling so at peace and so happy and just looking at everything. And then all of a sudden I hear these voices from below on the ground. I hear these 2 girls. I hear them calling my name. And they actually, I'm pretty sure they actually said Sabrina. So it's like they knew what I was going to be named. Anyway, they were calling my name, and I looked down a little bit, just kind of peered over to see who was calling my name. I already knew who it was. Like I felt like it, you know, at that moment I knew who they were. They were my friends or something. And I looked down and I saw these 2 girls. One was wearing kind of they're both wearing kind of nightgown type outfits. Not like frilly or anything, just like plain, just like a dress almost, but not anything fancy, just like a gown. One was wearing kind of a baby blue colored one, and the other one was wearing a pink one. And so I look down and I see them, and they're really happy. They're all excited, and they're shouting up to me, Sabrina, Sabrina, it's time. You have to come. You have to go. You got to come down here. And I remember thinking like, you know, it's so nice being here. I know I need to go. And it's almost as if I felt like it was a duty. Like I felt like I need to do this. It's like my duty. I'll do a lot of good things. I don't want to leave this place, but you know, I need to do this. And so finally I just kind of took a breath, and then I looked down and I started to get down. I wasn't going to climb down though. I remember I was about to like jump off the tree, and that's all I remember. That's it. That's literally it. So it's really short, but I've always had that memory. I've always carried it with me. And when I got a little bit older, I used to think, well, was that like a dream I had when I was a baby or something, you know, like, but if I had had it when I was a baby or even 2 or 3 years old, the thing that kind of discounts that is that in this memory, I felt older. Like I felt as if I was maybe like 10 or 11, or even older. When I looked down at those girls looked about 10 or 11 years old. And they've always looked that way. It hasn't changed since I got older or anything like that. Like I've always remembered them the same way. So if it was a dream, then why would I dream of being older? Like, that doesn't make sense because I wouldn't know what that's like. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Anyway, that's my memory, and glad to finally share that on here because I haven't told a lot of people about it. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think, maybe it could have been some sort of dream, or if you really think it is some kind of past memory where I remember being, in kind of a heaven-like place, just on the other side, waiting to be born, and my friends telling me like, hey, it's time, you gotta go. So anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys think. I would love to hear your guys' experiences if you have any. If you've never heard of this before, I would encourage you to research it or to read this book. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.